Hey guys, welcome back to today's Explainer. I am so pumped to have you here. Today, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're not just going to skim through the headlines. We're actually going to completely decode them. We're diving deep into the underlying structures of governance and looking at the very architecture of a modern state. So think about this for a second. If you were setting the UPSC paper tomorrow, which story from today would you actually pick? Would it be the renewed missile strikes in West Asia? Or maybe the return of those beautiful Chola-era idols from Australia? It's a pretty tough choice, right? But what if I told you that beneath all these completely different headlines, today's edition is actually driven by one single core concept, and that concept is alignment. Let's zoom out a bit to look at the big picture. Globally and domestically, modern states are dealing with a massive trust deficit. So what's the actual solution here? Well, they're desperately trying to turn fragile friendships into reliable institutional habits. They basically want to build machines that work seamlessly regardless of who is currently in power.
That brings us to Section 1, Friendship versus Machine, where we'll look at strategic alignment.
Now, here is a really crucial distinction to keep in mind. Convergence is kind of like two friends separately deciding to go to the exact same movie. You end up in the same place, maybe you share a worldview, but your motives are independent. Alignment, on the other hand, is when you actually build the movie theater together. You share the costs and you create a system. India and Australia aren't just going to the same movie anymore. They are aligning to build a system in the Indo-Pacific. And the SHANTI Act of 2025 is exactly how we build that theater. For 12 years, a uranium deal with Australia was stuck. And why? Because of our own domestic nuclear liability issues. The SHANTI Act fixed those internal rules, and boom, the global deal is operationalized. This is exactly how domestic legislation directly unlocks global strategy. You literally cannot have international alignment without domestic capacity. Moving right along to Section 2, the centralization challenge. We need to talk about the VBSA Bill 2025. What exactly is this bill? Well, in simple terms, it's a proposed structural overhaul of higher education in India. It plans to completely replace existing bodies like the UGC, the AICTE, and the NCTE with one single apex body. Just imagine a massive, incredibly diverse university. Then suddenly, one single administrative office right at the top dictates the exact syllabus, the fees, and the rules for every single department, from fine arts all the way to quantum physics. That is exactly the kind of centralization we are looking at here, with the VBSA apex body sitting right below the union government, controlling all state and central universities. And here is where the friction really starts. Clauses 45 and 47 explicitly grant the union government the power to, quote-unquote, supersede this new regulator. This is a massive shift in power, and it's exactly why states like Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Telangana are deeply worried. They're looking at this architecture and seeing a direct threat to their educational autonomy. Banaras Hindu University actually sounded the alarm on this, warning that it risks turning a regulator into an arm of the government. If you're writing a GS2 answer, this is your classic textbook case study on the friction between cooperative and competitive federalism. It's just a perfect example of how structural changes can create systemic tension. Now let's shift to Section 3, the perfect storm. This is a heavy question, but we really have to ask it. Why does this keep happening? We are looking at yet another disaster, this time near the under-construction Twin Tunnel project site at Kalati in Mepadi Panchayat. You see, it is rarely just nature acting alone. We're looking at a fatal chain reaction here. Exceptionally heavy rain mixing with excavation debris from human construction, all sitting on a geologically fragile topography in the Western Ghats. The Supreme Court actually allowed this tunnel project because of its national importance. But think of it this way. Building heavy infrastructure in this specific topography is like trying to mount a massive, heavy glass shelf onto a crumbling mud wall. It doesn't matter how important the shelf is to the house, the wall simply has physical, ecological limits. So the crucial point here, and this is especially important for your GS3 environment prep, is that disaster resilience cannot just be about how fast we send rescue teams. True modern governance acknowledges geographical limits from day one. Disaster resilience must be built into the very architecture and design of a project, not just treated as an afterthought or response. Let's wrap things up with Section 4, your 80-minute roadmap. All right, let's bring the energy back up and make this actionable for you today. Here is exactly how you should map out your next 80 minutes. Spend 20 minutes deep reading the India-Australia editorial to map out that alignment concept. Then give 15 minutes to revising GS2 federalism, specifically focusing on education in the concurrent list. After that, spend 20 minutes tackling the Manipul SIR MCQs. This is absolutely vital to understand how tribal identity and naming systems can lead to systemic exclusion. Finally, wrap up your 80 minutes by writing a crisp 25-minute note on the SHANTI Act. Remember, conceptual clarity is your absolute superpower. Ask yourself right now, are you just memorizing today's headlines, or are you actually understanding the systems that drive them? Because once you understand the architecture of the state, the exam becomes a puzzle you actually know how to solve. Stay curious, stay consistent, and go dive into those books. I'll catch you in the next explainer.